Webinar topic is the 2025 Workforce Forecast. This has become one of our most popular topics every year, and we're very thankful to have our friends over at the Department of Employment and Workforce and their Labor Market Information Division that just do a fantastic job keeping track of some really interesting data on the workforce throughout our state and even broken down at some local levels. We'll be getting to Brandon in just a few slides. Brandon Wilkerson is our main guest today, our star of the show from Dew, and we're really excited to see what he's got to say this year. So again, thank you all for joining us. We're going to jump through a couple of quick slides, and then we'll get to Brandon. So we'll go ahead and go to the team. So just quick intro. This is the Business Solutions team here at Midlands Technical College. Rebecca Taylor, our executive director, is with us today. I think the whole team's here today, actually. So if you guys don't mind, raise your hands and wave at everybody there. But as you'll see, Kim, Chris, and myself, we are the Business Solutions directors. We're the folks that are out there talking to a lot of you, our business partners across the region, trying to see what we can do just to help you guys build your workforce. We also have several other critical members of the team. Kiana Hinton, who's worked with a lot of y'all on helping get grant funding for a lot of the training work that we've done. And Kate Wong, our newest member of the team, who's, gosh, been here a good while now. You're not that new anymore, Kate. But Kate is, she's priceless, just a huge asset to us, helping with a lot of the projects we work on, and especially great at helping keep us organized for events like we're doing here today. So big thank you to the team. Chris, you mind telling them a little bit more about what we do on the Business Solutions team?
Absolutely. And if this is your first webinar with the Midlands Technical College Business Solutions team, welcome. We're happy that you're here. Midlands Technical College takes pride in being more than just a training provider. We're a partner in workforce development. Our team stays connected with local businesses, understanding their challenges and helping them implement solutions to stay competitive. We accomplish this in a few key ways. And first, we offer programs tailored to help businesses train new employees efficiently or upskill existing workforce. Whether it's technical skills, leadership development, or industry-specific training, we design solutions to meet real-world needs.
So frustrating.
Second, we can help businesses navigate and leverage grants and apprenticeship programs. These resources can significantly offset training costs and create sustainable talent pipelines, helping companies develop the skilled workforce that they need. And finally, we assist employers in connecting with other valuable resources, whether it's linking them to industry experts, workforce development initiatives, or other community partnerships that can support growth and success. Ultimately, our goal is to be a strategic partner that helps Midlands businesses thrive by ensuring that you have access to workforce solutions to improve productivity, reduce turnover, and strengthen your bottom line.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. So, that we love being partners with so many of you folks, and we feel like we do a great job of it. But we're always open to more ideas. So anytime you think of a new way that we can help you or your organization be more efficient, more productive in terms of workforce development, please let us know. So a couple things we got coming up. Kate, I think you were going to talk to us a little bit about these. You're still muted, Kate.
Mm-hmm. We have our 2025 Employee Relations Law Series that kicks off on March the 13th. If you have not already attended or registered for this class, this series is designed to provide a comprehensive, practical, convenient, and cost-effective way to acquire knowledge about complex employment laws, the laws that impact virtually every employment-related decision. This class meets the second Thursday of each month from March through December, and each class is taught by a local attorney who specializes in the subject for the respective month. In addition to continuing education units, your completion of this program may be applied for up to 35 hours of HR recertification credit through HRCI and SHRM. If you're interested in taking a look at the agenda or getting registered, please contact one of the business solution directors or myself.
Awesome.
Also, we have our Administrative Professionals Conference coming up on April 24th. So with your administrative staff keeping everything running smoothly on a day-to-day basis, let them know how much you appreciate them and support their growth by sending them to the admin conference. The early bird registration is $269, so you will want to register by March 18th, and there will also be door prizes.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. I really appreciate it. So we're going to go ahead and get ready for Brandon. But before we do, we wanted to run a quick poll. We just want to kind of take a temperature check from our partners. You should see that poll question popping up on the screen. What are your workforce priorities or concerns for 2025? So we're going to give you a little bit to kind of pick one of those choices there. Some of the general stuff that we see. So you see there's an other category there too. If we didn't get the one that you're thinking is going to be the biggest priority, we'd love for you to throw that into chat as well. Just about 10 more seconds and we'll share some results on this. All right. Chris, what do we look like on results, Chris? Look at that. A lot of all of the above in there. And actually still some answers coming in, which is A-okay. But a real clear winner there out of the three is retention and again, all of the above. So a lot of folks still worried about hiring and closing skill gaps. And it looks like more than if any of the individual ones stand out, it's how in the world do we keep what we've got? So, Brandon, I don't know if that's a challenge to your organization or not, but it sounds like a lot of folks are still in that position of needing more than we have right now in terms of getting the right people in the door. So I think that's a great lead in. We'll go ahead and close those poll results out. Thank you, everybody, for participating in that. And with no further delay, let's go ahead and get the star of the show on board. We've got Brandon Wilkerson, the Labor Market Analytics Director at the South Carolina Department of Employment and Workforce. This is Brandon's second year, I believe, if I remember right. Is that with us on this? Is that right, Brandon?
That's right. Feels like
absolutely.
just
And Brandon did a great job last year. We had a lot of wonderful feedback. So, Brandon, we're really excited to have you back. Appreciate you sharing your time with us today, and we're interested to see what you got to say. I'll drive for you. So the microphone is yours, my friend. You tell me when you're ready for the next slide.
Okay, very good. Let's move on. Let's get started.
Excellent. I think it's up there. This one here.
What I'm seeing right now says Midlands Technical College 2025 workforce forecast.
Okay. It has not moved the slides forward. Chris, any idea what I'm doing wrong here?
This may be significant.
I
did not get the poll when it came up, so maybe I have some kind of different status from some of the other participants.
Let's see. Sorry, folks. Quick stumble here, but we'll get through this. Brandon, does...
Hey, slides are advancing for me, Jeremy.
They are for me as well.
Brandon, any chance you've got your slides? You can look at them locally, and I'll tell you which one we're on.
Yeah, I think that should work well. Okay, so right now, are you on the
employment situation?
Yeah. Oh, okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this table, which I can't see, or at least I'm looking at on a different screen from you guys, is set up as a comparison of the immediate pre-pandemic situation. So that's February 2020, compared to our current numbers, most current available being December 2024. And you can see that South Carolina has around 2.4 million people employed right now. That's up by more than 160,000 from before the pandemic. The number of unemployed is also up. It's around 119,000 right now, which is that's a boost of more than 50,000 from February 2020. Most of you are probably thinking that's a pretty big bump, and it is, but it's a sign that the labor force is really increasing in the state. We're bringing in a lot of new workers from other states and growing our population at a rate that is well above the national average. Coming along with that, you can see there's been an increase in the unemployment rate. It's at 4.7%, which is up 1.8 points from the 2.9 that we saw in February 2020. This is a bit elevated compared to the U.S. as a whole, which is at 4.1%, and also compared to our neighbors, Georgia and North Carolina, both at 3.7%. But my counsel on this is don't panic, don't overreact. It's an indication that the labor market has been a little bit slower at sorting job seekers into jobs recently, which I think is a reflection of what the poll was showing. But it's not a dangerously high figure. Historically speaking, it is still very low. Economists, in fact, consider 5% unemployment to be full employment, which means that's the point at which everyone who wants a job and is capable of doing a job has one. So we're still performing at a mark that is better than what's considered full employment. If you move on to the next slide. Okay, this slide, I did a bit of a crash rehearsal right before this, and I realized that this is a little bit of an artifact slide. Most of this I've already sort of spoken to in the employment situation, and in fact, a couple of these numbers are a month out of date. But key thing from this is SC employers reported annual payroll growth of 2.6% last year. That was the fourth highest in the country. And that's not the only stat where we're going to come in high. Let's move on to the map. That's the next slide. Has everybody seen a map of unemployment rate by county?
We are. Mm-hmm.
Very good. The numbers here are arranging themselves bimodally. That means there's two prominent groups. So we've got a set of counties that are coming in around 4 to 5%, and then we've also got a set of counties coming in around 7%. I don't want to speak too much on county by county basis, but I think everybody probably has an idea of which counties are in which groups. Let's move on to the next slide. We have some economic facts and figures here. In the second quarter of 2024, and that's the latest available number for personal income, the state's personal income grew 6.9% year over year. That was the largest increase of any state. So we're on a bit of a skyrocket here. South Carolina was the fourth fastest growing state during the year or during the period ending July 1st, 2024. So over 12 months up to that day, the state added 91,001 people. That was a 1.7% bump. And yeah, and as of October of 2025, there were 153 job openings statewide. Now I have a more recent number for job openings than this, but for South Carolina. But in order to compare it to the rest of the country, 153,000 job openings in October was 8th among all states as a percentage of total employment. So that is the ratio of how much of total employment in a state is made up of new hires, new people coming into jobs. So we were 8th amongst all states. Let's move on to the next slide, which gives you an idea of what those postings were. So this is a more current number of postings. In mid-January, according to our Jobs EQ database, which is a subscription data aggregator that we use, there were a little more than 129,000 active postings in South Carolina. And you can see the top postings here. Nearly 6,000 registered nurses being looked for in the state, a little more than 5,000 first-line supervisors of retail workers. And then coming in just behind that, almost 5,000 retail salespeople needed in the state. And as you go down through the list, you'll see some other health occupations, stockers and order fillers, fast food and counter workers. Not all of these jobs are particularly high profile, but there's lots of openings for them, lots of demand for them.
Brandon, just out of curiosity, on that list, were there any surprises to you guys? Anything that you don't usually see, or is this kind of the same usual suspects?
Yeah, this would be the usual suspects. You might see, you're almost never going to see registered nurses knocked off of that top spot. That's just a function of the demand for healthcare, rising population, and an aging population.
Gotcha.
You might see a little bit of movement seasonally on this list when, say, for example, retail salespeople and the supervisors of retail sales workers, that's not always going to be up there at the second and number 2, number 3 spot. That's probably a function of a lot of temporary hiring over the holidays.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Let's go on to job postings by location. Jeremy used the word usual suspects. I think that applies here as well. You're going to see that the biggest MSAs.
Did we lose Brandon?
Am I no longer transmitting? Anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Jeremy may not be able to hear me.
No, there we are. I'm here.
Okay.
I just came back
very
and
good.
dropped me for a second, but I'm back.
I think
Brandon.
I had some and not others. Okay, so to repeat myself, Jeremy had used the phrase usual suspects on the other table, and we could use that again here. What we're seeing here is the job postings by MSA. And the biggest MSAs in the state, Charleston, Greenville, Columbia, they've got the most postings. During that time, January, Charleston MSA had nearly 28,000 ads. Greenville, just under 26,000. Columbia, just over 23,000. And then you can move down through, basically it's the MSAs by population are ranked here by the number of jobs. Of interest, the top 3 employers that have been posting jobs or that were posting jobs that month, state government, number 1, AutoZone, number 2, and Prisma Health, number 3.
Was there a big development with AutoZone that I missed? How in the world did they end up at the top of that list?
That is a good question. So I don't have metrics on why exactly AutoZone may have been doing a lot of hiring. My guess would be they had either an expansion of some sort where they opened some locations and needed to fill those spots, or it may just be this job that has a lot of churn. So they
Gotcha.
get a lot of turnover, and they may even do post. It's possible. I don't want to cast aspersions on AutoZone, but it's possible they do postings before they need them because they know they're going to.
Gotcha. Understood.
And is this time frame just December?
So these particular numbers are the month of January.
Month of January. Sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
If you move on to the next slide, this is we're segueing now into, I'm going to talk a little bit about South Carolina's strategic plan for education and workforce development. Moving on to the next slide. This is something developed by the CCWD, the Coordinating Council for Workforce Development. The plan has a vision of achieving and sustaining South Carolina's workforce potential. The mission is through collaboration and coordination, align and enhance South Carolina's education and workforce system so that it is readily accessible, highly effective, and easily understandable. So to sort of delve into this in a more plain way, there have always been or not always, but for a long time, we've had plenty of entities, plenty of organizations looking at workforce and education within the state. But they weren't always communicating as well as they perhaps could have been. They weren't always collaborating as well as they perhaps could have been. And they didn't always know all the resources that were available. So part of this mission by the CCWD is to make sure that there's some more synergy between all of these units. And you can see, if I recall, this slide may have some animations. So
Yep,
Jeremy,
I've got 'em
yeah, so let's bring up, there should be 3 bubbles appearing. And these are we have 3 sets of metrics that we're trying to look at to move forward with this mission of getting more collaboration and coordination between the entities. Or at least, well, we call them 3, but skills is broken up into 2. So in a sense, it's 4. If you can move on to the slide that begins with a circular puzzle piece. Is everybody seeing that?
We are.
Okay, and I believe that one also has some animations. So we'll go bit by bit here. First one to come up should be in the top left corner, and it says awareness. So for awareness, what we're looking to understand is how pervasive the knowledge and awareness of services is. So what I mean by that is, do employers understand what resources there are to help them build their pool of talent? We also want to understand awareness of occupations in the state. So we want to know if job seekers and households in general know about the opportunities that are available in the state. If you click again, we'll move on to the first skills metric. So this is, we want to know about secondary education. So that's the high school level. We want to know how many students are leaving school, college, and career ready, and also what they're doing after graduation. Are they working? Are they in education? Or are they in a year of service? The next set of skills, if you click again, these are based on higher ed level or related to service. We are looking to understand what % of students are getting a high value credential from their institutions and how many are going into certain types of work-based learning, so like apprenticeships. And we also want to know how many have entered into full-time employment. And then if you click again, we'll see the last puzzle piece, which is obstacles. For this, we are looking to gauge to what degree childcare and transportation issues are preventing people from working. And so once we have a better understanding of all these metrics, we can begin to work forward on improving all of these situations. All right, if you move on to the next slide, this one is going to go down from the top. It starts showing 800 occupations in South Carolina. So this is based on the titles within the SOC.
What is that?
The titles within the SOC system, which is the Standard Occupational Classification System. And that's a way of having an agreed upon vocabulary of what a job is. And there are 800, slightly more than 800 different titles employed in South Carolina. For step A, if you click, I'm not sure if you're seeing that, but this is, you can see that it's broken down almost down the middle. About half of the occupations in South Carolina require high school diploma or less, and around half, 397, require higher education credential of some sort. Having developed that list, then we go on to step B, click. We want to distill these numbers a bit more using a supply gap analysis. So our supply gap analysis, which we're going to update each year, and we should have our first edition of that out later this quarter, it looks at the number of qualified graduates that are leaving South Carolina institutions as compared to the job openings that that particular program would qualify them for. So as a quick example, an engineering degree and an engineering position, if there's a shortfall in the number of engineers coming out of school compared to the number of openings or the demand for engineers, we consider that a supply gap. And you can see that of the occupations requiring a higher education credential, 71 of them have a medium, so that's a 100 to 250 gap in the number of openings compared to the number of graduates coming out of schools that are qualified for that job. And then also amongst that 71, there are also those with a high supply shortage. So that would be 250 or more openings beyond what we have qualified graduates coming out for. But
Brandon, we had a quick question. Somebody asked, how does the CCWD define high value credential?
I will get to that on the next slide, but as a bit of a sneak preview, we have 4 metrics that we use, and we measure them based on if it comes in above the median on those metrics, it is a priority or high value credential. But yeah, we'll get to that explanation very soon. 241 of the occupations that require high school or a higher education credential exceed demand, meet demand, or simply have a low shortage, which is there are fewer than 100 openings beyond the number of graduates coming out. Supply gap is not available at the high school level. Then if you move on to step C, of the 71 jobs that have supply gaps of medium or high, 62 scored above the median in the calculation of priority occupations. So this is the high value credentials. We have identified priority occupations as being the jobs that we're going to give extra attention or highlighting to. They are scored across 4 metrics. First metric is demand. So are there openings for this job? Are there employers that want to hire in for this position? Is there growth? So over the coming years, 10 years, will there be an escalating number of people in these jobs? Turnover. So once someone has this job, do they stay in it? And then sustainability, which could be better understood as pay. It is in fact based on pay, but we wanted to call it sustainability in terms of are you able to provide for your family and yourself with this job? And so there are 168 total priority occupations that have been identified. 62 of these fall into the medium or high supply shortage, and then 106 of these occupations that are considered priority require only a high school diploma or less, which I think is encouraging. If you move on to the next slide, you can get a look at how many priority occupations are in each career cluster in the state. So there are at least 2 priority occupations and these career clusters are as defined by the Bureau's labor statistics. But we have at least 2 in every cluster within the state. You can see that it's a little top heavy in things like health science, which is probably not too surprising. Particularly in health science, we've got more of the priority occupations that are coming from those requiring a post-secondary credential. Manufacturing is a little heavier on high school diploma or less. There's 15 priority occupations in manufacturing. And then you can see some of the others that have large numbers: architecture and construction, and transportation, distribution, logistics. Particularly those are heavier on the requiring a high school diploma or less. If you move on to the next slide, we can get a look at the priority occupations that have no educational requirements ranked by mean wage, or not ranked by mean wage, but I have their mean wage listed here. The highest paid job that does not require have any educational requirement whatsoever in the state is postal service clerk, coming in at 61.5 a year. And then most of these other jobs you would consider to be fairly menial: roofers, cooks, and most of these wages are fairly modest. But this is useful as a comparison on the next slide, which shows the highest paying priority occupations that do require a high school diploma or an equivalent There's a couple in here that are flying pretty high at 6 figures. Real estate brokers and transportation, storage, and distribution managers coming in at 6 figures or coming in at 6 figures. And then some of these other jobs, there may be some surprises in here. Hearing aid specialists require high school diploma, no more. Lodging managers. And you can see that most of these jobs are coming in a bit higher than those requiring, in terms of pay, than those requiring only a high school diploma. And if you move on to the next slide, you can get a look at the jobs with the largest supply gap from our supply gap analysis. This is the top 10. So the job with the biggest shortfall in the number of openings compared to how many qualified graduates are coming out of state schools is accountants and auditors. Next up is software developers, probably not too surprising. Nursing assistants comes in third, and then nursing assistants sort of begins a bit of a trend here in the top 10, where you see a lot of health-related occupations, and that's really driven by just what enormous demand those jobs have in the state. And my final slide is just a reminder that you can get in touch with me and my team at LMI Customer Service at do.sc.gov if you have any kind of workforce or labor market problem or question that you have for us. And that is my update for the year. If anybody has any questions, I'll take them now.
So Brandon, real quick, a lot of data in there, and in terms of those priority occupations, I know we didn't see everything. It was kind of snapshots. But if you're an employer that's hearing this, and I don't know if we've got anybody in this situation or not, but if you're an employer that's hearing this and the position that's killing you, where you just can't find enough people, isn't on one of those priority lists, what do you do?
Well, that is a good question. Well, we are working on some resources now. So the CCWD is going to put up an interim portal for resources that is intended for any stakeholder, but it has specific resources for employers. It will also have, it's going to consolidate all possible job postings it'll scrape from every job posting platform. And so anybody who is interested in looking for a job, and employers who can get a look at what kind of traffic they're getting on a particular posting can go there. And hopefully that will get a little more transparency to who's out there looking, what jobs are available, and where the pain points are.
Gotcha. One other question I know we get pretty often is, and you had it in your presentation as well, is, we're such a fast growing state that the number of people moving here it is just astronomical. You hear folks talking about subdivisions popping up everywhere and more housing needed. We can't build houses fast enough. There's just a ton of people coming to South Carolina, but yet we somehow still end up short on the workforce side. What's going on there? Any thoughts on that?
I think it is probably a reflection of anticipated growth in the state. So there's every possible party right now is making a movement towards South Carolina. So we've got businesses coming in, we've got people moving, we've got people expecting to be able to improve in their job and beginning to look. So what sort of a almost paradoxical sign of a very strong economy is when people are willing to leave their jobs before they have another one. They just think, I'm unhappy in this. I know I'm going to be able to find something better or something that I'm better suited for. I'm going to go ahead and leave my job. And then they begin the search after that. And so I think between the rising population, increased investment from prospective companies that want to set up a business here, an enterprise here, and people understanding that, this is the lodestone. There's tons and tons of jobs in South Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and pack up and move. And when I get there, I know I'm going to be able to find something. And with that kind of influx, there's going to be a bottleneck somewhere. And so as we see, the unemployment rate is up, but it's a sign that people believe they can get a job. They're still willing to look, and they're still looking. And hopefully that sort of sorting where the best suited candidate for a job finds that job quickly and gets hired will begin to sort itself out in the coming year.
Where do you see the trends going? I mean, I know you mentioned that the unemployment rate's ticked up a little bit, but you mentioned that that's not really a reason for concern yet. But is that a trend y'all see continuing? And what do you think how do you think that reflects on the outlook going forward?
I do expect it to level off and then begin to drop again here soon, as long as assuming that the growth of businesses continues, which it should. If the economy continues to be strong, we're going to see more openings, more investment, and more jobs. And as I said, the sorting of the best possible candidate into the position should begin to happen a little bit faster. And I think we'll see the unemployment rate drop again.
Gotcha. And I know, and guys, everyone attending this thing, don't let me hog all the questions. Feel free to throw something into chat, or feel free to unmute and ask a question at any time. But I just want to keep hitting a couple of things. I took some notes during the presentation on, Brandon. I was really impressed with that number. I believe what was it, 6 point something on the wage growth.
Right.
That's an astronomical number to me. Am I wrong in that?
That is incredibly high, and I guess you could say there's an ounce of shame in that, actually, and that one of the reasons it was able to be so high is because we were on the lower end for personal income for a number of years compared to other states. So there perhaps you could say there was room for a little more growth. But if that's us catching up, I think that's a good thing. And growth begets growth. So I think what we'll see is you get personal income higher, and it's just another sign that people will notice, there's some strong salaries in South Carolina. There's lots of jobs. Probably get more people coming in. And if anything, I would expect us to stay up pretty high in terms of growth compared to other states for a while.
Awesome. Looks like Jabari wants to ask a question. Jabari, I see your hand up.
All right, appreciate that, Jeremy. Thank you all for hosting this. And I apologize, I came in a little late, but I work with a group of high school seniors and some recent graduates who I would love to be able to pursue some of these opportunities in the state where our state needs people within that particular profession. I was wondering if you could tell me what would the steps that a student would need to take outside of, I know we could talk about quick jobs and things, but are there other avenues our students could take to help fill some of these vacancies?
I'll jump in first, Brandon, if you don't mind. I would tell you, Jabari, quick jobs is absolutely a great option, but there are a ton of different opportunities for those high school seniors to try to get engaged in the workforce early. I don't know which district you're with, Jabari, but a lot of the districts have really gotten engaged in the business community over the last few years. We've got, Richland District 2 has a very strong partnership with Prisma Health. Lexington 1 has a strong partnership with Lexington Medical Center, just a couple of examples in the healthcare world. But there's a lot of others that exist. But that's one of the trends I've seen in workforce development over probably the last 5 to 10 years, is that some of these shortages, and Brandon, feel free to chime on this if I'm wrong, because you know the data side of this better than anyone else I know. But I think a lot of these labor force shortages have forced employers to try to extend that workforce development pipeline earlier and earlier and earlier. One of the stories I tell quite often is that one of my old business contacts with Michelin tires, I did a career day one time at Red Bank Elementary School, and I did it as a favor to a friend whose daughter went to school there. And when I got there, Randy Crutfield from Michelin was setting up his table next to mine. And I asked Randy, I said, "Oh, Randy, what are you doing here? You got somebody's friend that kid goes to school here?" He goes, "No, I'm just here telling kids about Michelin and advanced manufacturing, because if I don't, nobody else is gonna." So I think we're seeing those pipelines going way, way earlier. Brandon, what about from the SC-DO and the CCWD side? Any suggestions you would give Jabari on how to start making those connections for his students?
Yes, so there are some resources available either online or even if you want to go into a brick and mortar building, there are SC Works centers throughout the state. They could go visit those and talk to a career counselor. There's a group called Apprenticeship SC they could get in touch with. The easiest way to get in touch with them, I think, would be online through their website. But they can talk to some companies that might be interested in a high school student being taken on as an apprentice. And then other than that, the interim portal, which will open from the CCWD, is going to be a great place for a high school student to go to look at what jobs are available and what resources have been consolidated there for them to look at.
One other suggestion that came up in chat that I think is very good is MEBA, the Midlands Education Business Alliance. They do their high school to hire event. So I would certainly, if you're not already connected to Lisa Call and Samantha Turner over at MEBA, I would certainly recommend getting in touch with them, because they do fantastic work on that, connecting high school and even middle school students to workforce opportunities and work experience opportunities as well. Jabari, great question. Thanks for asking. We had another really good question that popped up in chat, similar, but on a kind of different angle. Brandon, if you don't mind addressing it. Someone asked, what are the chief messages that we should be communicating to high school students about career planning and selecting a college major that will position them for multiple avenues for success. That idea of, what do you want to be when you grow up, and how do you safety check to make sure it's worth the investment to get educated to be that?
Ooh, okay. So it's a good timely question because we have been developing over the past year a series of return on investment one-pagers that we have posted on our website. Now, this looks at particular credentials. So we have one for engineering, we have one for nursing, respiratory tech, dental hygiene, and we intend to put up a lot more. Now, is it's a limited set right now, but if they want to get a look at purely what am I going to spend and what will I make after I get this degree, you can go take a look at those. They're available at the DO website. Look for the ROI one-pagers. Other than that, just speaking more generally, I think you really look at what are the hot and growing industries. And what we saw again and again in the slides, and we're going to continue to see, is healthcare. If you have any interest in healthcare, that is a place where you're going to find it ripe with opportunities for jobs. Many of them are well-paying, and in most cases, the educational path to those particular jobs is well-beaten and clear. You will know exactly what you need to do to get the credential, and once you have it, I don't think you'll have a great deal of trouble getting hired.
I think that's one of the big things. I mean, in all my years in workforce development, we see a lot of marketing around expected salary numbers, right? Like we tell kids, hey, this job you're interested in pays this much. But I think sometimes, we haven't pushed as hard on that, what you're talking about with the supply gap side, right? Like lead actors or NFL defensive tackles, the average salaries are way, way up there,
That's
but
right,
there's
yeah.
not a whole lot of opportunity there. So
Yeah.
when you start seeing those numbers about, our state needs 6,000 nurses, I mean, that is just an astronomical number.
In a single
And
month. Yeah.
yeah, in 1 month,
Right.
exactly. So I mean, just thinking about that, like we've got to do a good job of showing kids not just high potential earning, but high potential opportunity as well. And that's where I think that the numbers that you guys put together and make available, I think all of us in workforce development, if we're not taking advantage and staying appraised on where those numbers are, then we're not doing ourselves any favors there. Because I think that's probably an even more critical number than how much money can you make.
Well said. Yes.
I appreciate that. What other questions do we have? I see a few things coming in chat. Someone did share the link to our Quick Jobs program. If anybody out there has high school seniors, we actually have some information sessions coming up. I can't remember when those dates are, but there's a link in there for the Quick Jobs for high school seniors. That's a new thing that we're really, really excited about here at the college. And again, it's a reflection of what our business partners are telling us. We need to get more connected to getting a younger group of the potential workforce ready for work. Those are, all focused on short-term, get to the workforce quickly programs, but there's some seriously high potential programs in there. I mean, industrial maintenance is one of those occupations where you can get trained in a year and get started on a pathway to a very high earning potential occupation in a hurry. And that's one of the ones that's in that Quick Jobs offering. So I would encourage anybody that's working with young folks, or if you've got a kid in that age range, or your neighbor does, or you've got family that does, share that link with them because that is a really, really cool opportunity. Let's see. We had somebody point out the Michelin Scholars Program. I think that's another great example of what we're talking about. They've been doing that for a long time, and they're recruiting kids directly out of high school and sending them to school, doing a half school, half work experience. And when they finish, they're a full-blown Michelin reliability technician, making a great salary and great benefits. So again, just another example. Brandon, do you guys do any? I mean, we're talking a lot about this high school kids. Does do any tracking in terms of the age of the workforce and how early employers are connecting and how good of a job we're doing getting that younger population connected?
We are hoping to get some more data on that going forward. Yeah, when we were discussing with Jabari earlier, there's so much more attention on CTE, so career and technical education at the high school level now, and we're really hoping to get some good data sets out of that, see what they're being trained for, what their outcomes are after taking the CTE classes. But so far, that spigot has not been opened. But I'm hoping this year we'll be able to really dig into it.
We had another question about did public safety positions register in any of the analysis that suggest a rise in interest to that profession, police and dispatchers, et cetera?
Although I can't think of it having stood out in particular, I believe police officers does come in as a priority occupation, so it did score
Fantastic.
above the median on metrics. I'm not sure if its demand is particularly strong compared to the others, but there's another first responder as well. I believe firefighters are also in the priority occupations.
Excellent. Before we forget it, and I'll get to some more of these questions, Chris, if you don't mind, I do want to throw that second poll up on the screen. Just out of curiosity, everyone that's still with us, after seeing these numbers that Brandon's put up and hearing some of this discussion, we'd love to hear how this has affected your outlook for 2025 from a workforce standpoint. Do you feel more encouraged, about the same? Was it what you expected, or are you a little more nervous about what's coming this year? So we'll leave that up for a few seconds. And Chris, you don't mind just share those results in just a little bit so everybody can see those. So Brandon, back to what we were talking about. One other thing that stood out to me in the slides that you were sharing was that regional analysis, the openings. I mean, obviously the gorilla in the workforce room here in the Midlands right now is Scout Motors. And I'm guessing here, so tell me if I'm wrong, but we're probably not seeing the impact of that in the data yet, correct?
Right. I would say we're still on the eve of starting to see them put up a lot of postings. But there may be some knock-on effects that are occurring already. So as I said earlier about growth begetting growth, there's a canny supplier who read the news reports and the press releases knowing Scout's coming. They have to be making plans and getting set up, getting their facilities ready. And I think there may actually be some hiring indirectly occurring because of Scout already, even though Scout itself has probably not put up anything other than their most critical positions at this point.
And I imagine that'll have ancillary impacts on a lot of this data as well, right? I mean, when we already saw a massive salary increase percentage wise, I mean, I'm guessing that the competition to try to keep your people from leaving for Scout or elsewhere is probably going to cause that number, that'll probably be an upward influence on that number in the coming months and years as well, correct?
That should be true. Salaries are a competitive process.
Yeah. So seeing the results of that poll, Brandon, you've made folks feel pretty good. It looks like you've given them good news for what's to come this year.
Excellent.
We've got a 59% encouraged. There's a few folks that are a little more apprehensive, about 19%. And I imagine some of these things we're talking about in terms of more competition for the employees that are here and having to pay a little more to keep them or get them in the first place are probably leading to some of that. But overall, it looks like folks are pretty encouraged by what they're hearing. I imagine, I mean, with all those folks moving here, we've got to start seeing some type of positive movement in terms of closing these supply gaps, right? Or am I just too optimistic there?
Well, our analysis shows that because the population is growing so fast and because getting a program up and running or expanding a program is a slower process, it may be a while before some of these gaps get closed. But the first step is putting attention on them, putting the spotlight on them. Even if policy is slow to respond, the public understanding that these jobs need more people, we'll start to see people going into them. Might see people moving here specifically because of a gap.
That's awesome. Had another question that came in, and I don't know if this is data y'all track or not, Brandon, but would certainly be interested if you do. In our state, how does remote and hybrid work, or the desire for it by potential employees play into the workforce equation for the state? Are there any numbers that track that sort of thing?
There are no reliable numbers that track it, I should say.
Gotcha.
So we are able to see a little bit from tax records who's working remotely, but a clear picture from that data has not emerged yet.
Gotcha. And you know, you mentioned tax records. Does it impact our numbers if someone is here in South Carolina as a South Carolina resident, but working remotely for an out-of-state company?
It doesn't impact our numbers in the sense that they would not be considered unemployed. So they are contributing to the economy in some way, and they're not detracting from it.
Gotcha.
It is sort of a unique tax situation for them and for the state, but it doesn't harm our numbers.
But from a workforce standpoint, that means there's somebody in our labor force actively working, but they're not actively working to fill a gap for a South
an
Carolina
employer
company.
within the state. That's true.
I hadn't thought about that before. That's an interesting thing. Someone asked, could the link to the ROI one pagers, is that something that you could share in the chat, Brandon?
I saw it pop up and I went looking, and in typical websites never work the way you think they will. When I went to the page, it was dead. So I'm going to work on that. We've had a little bit of a problem with the website recently, and we're actually revamping our website and expect to have one up on March 3rd. But yeah, I will try to get that. I'll send that to you if possible, and then
Sure,
perhaps you can send it out to
absolutely.
the list. Okay, thank you.
We'll be glad to. We'll get that emailed out to everybody as soon as you get it to us. That's fantastic. Brandon, I mean, in your opinion, you've been in this a long time. What do you think is the biggest theme we're going to see this year workforce wise? What's the most critical impact employers are going to feel? Good or bad?
Right. I think they're going to see a lot of competition for workers. When you see that the unemployment rate is high, as I said before, that means there's people looking, people are confident in the labor market despite not having a job. And so there's going to be a lot of people out there looking, and that's on both the supply and demand side. So you've got workers who want jobs, you've got employers who want to hire, and both sides are probably going to get ghosted in some cases. Somebody's going to take a job while they're in the process of interviewing for another one, and somebody else is going to be some employer is going to be so overburdened with candidates that they're going to have to pick somebody, and it'll take them a while to get back to the poor souls that didn't get it. But that's a dynamic labor market, and
Wow.
we hope it'll continue that way in terms of growth and improving wages. But as long as people are finding jobs, we're happy.
And that's one thing, and I promise I'll get to somebody else's question. And I don't mean to hog the microphone, but that's one thing that stood out that you mentioned is that the type of economy we're in right now makes people more willing to leave a job before they've found the next one, like that confidence that they have. But I imagine that probably has a reflecting impact on the back end with if they're applying for a position with my company, I can't assume that they're just going to accept it the moment I offer it. That probably means they're also willing to be a little bit picky about what they jump into next, right?
Yes, that is what you see again and again.
Wow. That's just a neat thing. I came up in the workforce world in the era of the Great Recession of 08 and 09. So just that is just a complete 180 in the mindset. Nobody was leaving a job back then, and unless you had something incredibly secure to land in. So I've never thought about that before. That's a really neat way to look at the outlook for the economy itself. We had somebody ask. They said they need middle-aged to older employees. Any tips on attracting them in that age range? And this one in particular, they're in the janitorial services industry, and they say high schoolers aren't interested in that. So any suggestions on how to target that middle-aged to older job seeker?
I guess that would really be more of an advertising and marketing question.
Yeah.
You'd have to. I mean, I don't have metrics on this, but I would imagine that age group probably searches for jobs in a slightly different way than the younger generation does. If you could, yeah, if I were a consultant on that, I would say find out which websites they visit, or if they even visit websites, find out where the ads are being presented to them, and try to get them there. Try to find them where they are, I guess, is the way you would describe it.
Yeah, no, I get it. That's a tough one. I don't know the answer to it either. I know 20 years ago you would have put a help wanted ad in the newspaper, but I'm not sure the state even has that section anymore.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
also unsure.
that is an interesting one. I don't have any more questions in chat. Does anybody brave got a question you're thinking about asking, want to pipe up and ask it on the microphone? I guess not. Brandon, you've done a fantastic job. I can't thank you enough. It's always a pleasure to have you, and the information is just it's priceless. I love asking questions. I could geek out about this for hours with you if we had the time. So thank you again. I really, really appreciate it. When you get us that link to those one pagers, we'll get that out to everyone else. And I know the questions come up several times. We are recording this session, and we'll be sending out a link. So everyone that registered and attended, you will be getting that information as well. A little bit of last minute housekeeping on our side. We want to share. We have not decided what our topic's going to be for our next webinar coming up in May, but we know it's going to take place on May 20th at 10 a.m. if you've got ideas, what type of topics you'd like to hear about, we'd love to hear them. Feel free to throw those into the chat down there. And we'd love to know what's important to you guys in our local business community. And we'll be getting word out about what that next topic's going to be soon. Also wanted to throw our contact information up there for the business solutions team here at Midlands Technical College. Feel free to reach out to any of us if there's anything we can do to help you with your workforce development projects and pipeline at your organization. We are always glad to jump in and have a conversation. We're not the right fit for everybody, but we have been lucky enough to have a lot of folks choose to work with us, and we've worked on some really fun projects to help people make sure they've got their existing workforce trained to peak efficiency, and also to help them figure out some new ways to bring new people on and get them trained into the occupations that are most important to keeping your organization running. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and close out for today. Brandon, again, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone for attending, and we encourage you to let us know if you have any questions, and we hope to see you on our next webinar. Have a wonderful day.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.